What's up, everybody? It's your guy Ike Jones, and we are here inside of LAUB Town. It is time for the Maui Invitational. Today, Auburn takes on Iowa State. Let's talk about it right here. Let's get into the town.
The Auburn Express. You are now listening to the War Rapport, Town Podcast. With your boy Ike Jones.
Yes, indeed. You got Ike Jones in here. LAUB Town, part of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport. We are talking Auburn versus Iowa State. Auburn 4.5-point favorites versus Iowa State in this game down at the Maui Invitational. Listen, this is a game that you can't really take for granted. Iowa State is going to be a tough game for Auburn. This is a team that is definitely a tournament-worthy team as far as its composition is concerned, and Auburn's going to have to go out here and really earn a victory. Got a little film that I'm going to be doing on that, so you guys make sure after you do this video, if you're Green Name Gang, that is, y'all go over there and check that out for my members. Appreciate y'all very much. We are doing a little bit of a film breakdown over there on Iowa State, so y'all check that out. But really in this game, it's going to be a matchup of two teams that are coming at this from a slightly different perspective, but with very similar things that they want to do. When we look at the head-to-head on this one, again, very similar teams. Iowa State scoring about 84 points per game. Auburn is at about 87 points per game, a little north of 87 there for Auburn, and doing a good job of being able to shoot the basketball. But the defenses is really what I want to talk about here. Auburn limiting offenses to just under 60 points per game. Iowa State 50.7. Now, caveat there. They haven't played anybody. They've played a bunch of teams that aren't physically as gifted as they are, and but you still have to have a good defense in order to be able to do the things that they've done so far. And so don't want to look past it and act as if you holding teams under 51 points on average in the season is not a good thing. It's a team that likes to get out there and disrupt things and get into transition. Field goal percentage, though, they haven't been shooting it stellar from the field, but 48.6 isn't bad. Auburn at 55.3. Rebounding slightly in favor of Iowa State, but again, they have been playing teams that have been undersized versus them. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up with Auburn, who's a team that is going to have size that's going to be comparable to them across the board. Assisting, Auburn doing a good job of assisting on baskets at 19 assists per game. Iowa State just south of 19 at 18.7. Blocks per game, Auburn has the advantage there. Auburn has been doing a really good job of defending the paint this year at almost 7 or 6.5 blocks per game there. Iowa State at 4 blocks per game. And then steals per game, as you can see, 9.7 steals per game for Iowa State. This is a team, again, that has been doing a really good job of getting out into the passing lanes and being disruptive out there defensively. So looking forward to seeing how Auburn deals with that disruption from a team that is going to deploy some long, quick, athletic guys out there on the perimeter to try to disrupt what Auburn wants to do from their offensive standpoint. This game tips off at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Auburn is predicted to win 61.7 according to the ESPN matchup predictor there. So, by all means, again, not a gimme game, even though Auburn is predicted to win, but something that Auburn's going to have to take seriously, right? If you are watching the Maui Invitational stuff that's already happening today, and you see UConn, the favorite out there, being taken to task by Memphis. That game's still going on as I'm recording this and going into overtime. But that's UConn's supposed to be the favorite in that one, and Memphis is out there making noise. So you can't just decide a team's not worthy of your effort. So they need to go out there and make sure that they're handling business today. And Coach Bruce Pearl does a good job of making sure his team understands what's happening and is focused for games. But they're going to have to take this tournament-like environment like they did versus Houston, go out there and take it seriously. Now, I said Iowa State hasn't played anybody. Auburn has, but that's also a detriment for Auburn, right? They've been tested in a game, but they've also shown a little bit more of what they would like to do. And Iowa State hasn't had the opportunity to show much on film. They've been running a lot of base stuff. They've shown what they can do defensively, but offensive sets and that sort of thing, they haven't run a lot of that stuff. But again, I'll get into some of the things that they've done so far on film in the breakdown green name game. Y'all check that out as soon as we're done here. Stat leaders for both teams, you can see Janai Broom and Denver Jones being the guys there for this Auburn team. Denver Jones leading in assists and steals, and points, rebounds, and blocks go to Janai Broom. For Iowa State, this kid Jones here for Iowa State, he is a baller. I've seen him shoot, and he can absolutely light it up out there. Curtis Jones is the leading scorer. You've got Jackson here, who is the guy who's leading in rebounds. Now, he's a guy that comes off the bench for them, but he gives them some significant size at 6'11". Gilbert is the point guard out there controlling things. Definitely a quick guy off of the dribble. The assist leader there for Iowa State. Lipsey is another guy who can fill it up out there, but he's also the leader in steals, another small guard out there causing havoc in the passing lanes. And then Jackson, again, the leader in blocks for this Iowa State team. So those are the guys that you have to look out for in terms of who's leading right now for the teams. Of course, Auburn has some other guys that are contributing heavily to this team, and they're always going to have a deep rotation. Coach Bruce Pearl did allow for Hudson and Howard to travel with the team, and they could potentially see some minutes in this game. So Auburn could be going 11 deep in this game with rotation of guys that they trust to come in and put in minutes. Iowa State really goes about 7 deep, right? They have 8 or 9 guys who will play. But as far as the divvy of minutes thus far in the season, you're seeing 25 plus minutes for the starting 5 in this team. And then the next 2 to 3 off of the bench are in the high teens, and you got a couple of guys who are playing just above 10 minutes per game. So it's not truly an 8-9 man rotation. They really want to go about 7 deep, maybe get into that 8th deep in the rotation. So Auburn's going to need to be able to send that second wave out there and really be able to disrupt what they're potentially going to be doing. Based upon the games thus far this season, this is the projected starting lineups. Hasn't been officially announced, so don't take this word as law, but this is what Auburn has been trotting out there. You got Denver Jones, who's been starting at the point guard position in the last game, and Miles Kelly has been inserted into the starting lineup there for Auburn. Chad Baker-Mazar has been starting all the games. The bottom 3, the front court has been the same for Auburn: Chad Baker-Mazar, Janai Broom, Dylan Cardwell. When you get into the Iowa State side of things, Gilbert, again, getting things going. He is the point guard there. He's the guy who's going to be kind of the engine of things. Lipsey is the other off guard there. And then Jones, the kind of off guard, but he's a scorer. Listen, he will go out there and he will light it up if you give him the opportunity to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing how Auburn decides to counter what he's doing. He's averaging 15 points per game, but he's shooting 42% from 3 so far this season. So he can absolutely light it up. I want to kind of call your attention to their starting center down here, Momcilovic, and I probably butchered his name, and I definitely apologize for that. But he is a guy he's a big and he is taller, but he is really more of a shooter right now on the season from 3-point. He is shooting 38.9%. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that they're going to flip the matchup and have Janai Broom guarding him out there on the perimeter and let Jefferson go against Cardwell having the size advantage. But as Auburn goes into their bench, it's going to be interesting to see what the crossover matchup is going to be as they start to get those things together. Dylan Cardwell likely will try to play a lot of minutes opposite of Deshaun Jackson out there, as he's the 6'11 guy that really is the banger on the interior there, and not really a huge threat to be able to go out there and score. He's averaging just north of 4 points per game, just south, of 10 points per game. I was looking at the wrong name there. Just south of 10 points per game, but a lot of that is rebounds, putback. So he's going to be, a rim run guy. He's very Dylan Cardwell in the way that he plays for this team, but going to be interesting to see how Auburn decides to counter the lineups out there. This Iowa State team is a team, again, they're not huge. They're not a big team, but what they like to do is spread you out. They want to get you outside the paint. Very reminiscent if Auburn fans remember the Miami team that they played against in the tournament a couple of years ago, playing a lot of 5-out offense, get you outside the paint. A lot of of that, really a lot of the Yale offense that Auburn played last year. So a lot of that with the backdoor cuts and that sort of thing is what Iowa State likes to be able to do, and they can absolutely fill it up. They've got 2 or 3 guys that can shoot north of 35% from 3. So Auburn's really going to need to be able to extend the defense, but guard against the backdoor cut. So going to be interesting to see how Coach Pearl decides to defend this Iowa State team, whether or not they're going to employ some zone, extend the zone a little bit, and then try to make sure that they're doing some boxing out so that they don't get the second chance opportunities. But the big thing for me in watching Iowa State play is Auburn is going to have to take care of the basketball, because this Iowa State team likes to get out and run. They want to get in transition, and that's where a lot of their stuff comes, even off of makes, misses. Doesn't have to be a turnover, but you need to make sure that you're getting back on defense, because Iowa State wants to get out and run. Early offense has been their friend in these first couple of games on the season. When you look at some of the other statistical breakdowns, Auburn defense, again, limiting teams to 59.3 points per game. This is a team that, I gave them a lot of props for their 3-point prowess, but they shoot a lot of threes, and I think this is a team that's going to want to shoot an abundance of threes, but they're still really good on the interior, being able to take care of the ball and get those tough twos to go down as well. You flip it around to the other side, and you talk about the Auburn offense, 84 points per game against a team in Iowa State that is only giving up just north of 50 or just south of 51 points per game. So it's going to be a situation where Auburn's going to need to be able to take care of the basketball, because this Iowa State team is going to try to turn you over, get out there and transition, and they are doing a pretty good job of that. When you look at this game from the Auburn perspective and the things that need to happen for Auburn, I think this is going to be a game where Auburn's going to need to stay out of foul trouble. Now, you have a lot of depth, but you don't want to rely on people who aren't used to bringing you home in these games against a team that's going to try to get out in the passing lane. They're going to try to run because you want to make sure that you have enough guys to rotate, and that's going to be difficult. How this game is officiated, to me, is really what's going to determine how well Auburn's going to be able to play. That Auburn versus Houston game, 2 teams that are very physical, and so it's difficult to officiate, and it gets murky at times, and the officiating got a little hairy and touchy at certain points in the game, and it felt like, oh man, we're not going to be able to guard. Iowa State doesn't come off as physical a team in the way that they approach their defense. They're up and they're in the passing lanes, and but they're not bumping and doing all that sort of thing. So Auburn, in their physicality, are the officials going to tie Auburn's hands, or are they going to allow Auburn to be the physical aggressors in this game? If Auburn's allowed to be physically aggressive in this game, I think it's going to be interesting to see how those 2 matchups go. A team that really wants to play, and I don't want to call them finesse because they absolutely have physicality, but a team that's going to be functioning off of their speed and versatility and able to get out and run, versus a team that in Auburn who likes to run, definitely likes to get in transition, but wants to be able to muddy it up a little bit in the half court. So that's going to be very interesting. The officiating in this game is going to tell me a lot early in how things go, but that's why the Auburn depth is going to be so important. They're going to need to be able to get out there, I think, and build an early lead. But with the way some of these guys for Iowa State heat up, no lead is safe, in my opinion, in this one. Auburn's going to have to keep their foot on the gas. It is a game that I expect Auburn to win, because I do think Auburn has the superiority in depth in this one, but I am looking forward to seeing this matchup. Now, I want to hear from you all. What do you think the score is going to look like? What are your predictions for the game? Make sure you tell me that right down there in the comments. Looking forward to hearing that. Looking forward to seeing a good game, and I will be right back here with you regardless of what time this game ends. It's looking like it's going to be a late tip-off, because these earlier games going a little bit longer. But definitely going to be right back here with you reacting to this. So you guys make sure you tap in with me. That's it, man. I'm out of here. Until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.